Sidi al-Sha'ab was a shrine and mosque located in Tripoli, Libya. It housed about 50 graves of Sufi Muslims on the inside of the building and the tombs of Libyan Sufi scholar Abdullah al-Sha'ab and a martyr who fought against the Spanish colonists on the outside. Sidi al-Sha'ab is a very large building with a large square tower, 5 domes on the roof, and a courtyard. The tower is white, has 3 balconies, triangular windows, and a maroon pyramid top. Its significance is obvious. It was a mosque, therefore making it an important place of worship for followers of Sufism, which is a sect of Islam. Most Libyans are Sunnis, so the Sufis do not have many people, mosque, or shrine in Libya. But Sidi al-Sha'ab was the main mosque for the Sufi population in Tripoli. Sufism is more of a way of approaching Islam and a way of interpreting the religion rather than a sect. There are Sufi orders in both Sunni and Shiite groups. It is a very peaceful section of Islam and is described as a mystical version of Islam. Mysticism is a practice of religion that combines its traditional beliefs with experiences during different spiritual states and ideas, myths, legends, and magic that can be associated with them. Although the Sufis are small in number, they have greatly influenced Islam. They have helped write Islamic texts and helped spread Islam. The mosque was built around the 16th century Common Era when Abdullah al-Sha'ab, a Sufi leader and the person that the mosque was built for, died. As far as we could find out, the mosque remained untouched until 2012, the year of its destruction. For 45 years, Muammar Gaddafi was the dictator of Libya. He enforced strict Islam and spread it through the country. Sufism was not a strict form of Islam. It suffered greatly under Gaddafi's rule. It has never been a very large sect of Islam because Libya has always been largely Sunni. Gaddafi closed a Sufi university in 1984 as an attempt to get rid of the mystical form of Islam. Sufi scholars continue to come from all over the world to strictly study the surviving Sufi religion until the revolution, which they greatly supported. When Gaddafi fell, Salafism became an issue in Libya. Salafis targeted Sufi Muslims, saying they worshipped graves. Salafis also targeted the sect of Islam because they viewed Sufi practices as idolatrous and religiously corrupt. A lot of footage on social media shows Libyan security officials present during the destruction without doing anything. This gave rise to questions regarding whether or not the Libyan government was actually supporting the destructions or Libya had given into the armed militia's demands. Libya condemned this attack, disassociating the country with the attack on Sufi Muslims. What is truly regrettable and suspicious is that some of those who took part in these destructive activities are supposed to be members of the security forces and from the revolutionaries, said the president of Libya's newly elected National Congress. There were government officials that engaged with the Salafis that were attacking, but after a small clash with the armed extremists, they decided to circle off the mosque so no one could exit or enter the mosque, making no attempts to stop the Salafis. The president of the National Congress called an emergency meeting with the Interior Minister to discuss the general lack of security in Libya. He was strongly criticized and in response gave his resignation. As Libyan authorities struggled to control the numerous armed militias that refused to surrender their weapons from last year's civil war, Salafis, who argue that Islam should return to the simple teachings of Muhammad, have created a number of armed gangs in Libya. Salafis are fundamentalist Muslims under the branch of Sunni Muslims who believe in the original ways of Islam. They are socially and religiously conservative and believe the next prophet should be the descendant of Muhammad. They believe in a united Islamic state and Sharia laws. They were not politically radical. It is thought that the destruction of Sufi shrines and mosques in Libya could be an attempt to raise awareness for their causes. The pictures and footage from the destruction on Libya TV and the Libyan media could be the only ways that Salafi groups could reach the larger public audiences. According to Foreign Policy magazine, the Libyan Salafi group called Ansar al-Sharia hired contractors to destroy Sidi al-Sha'ab. The reasons for the destruction is usually based on the reasons Salafis gave for destroying mosques and shrines in Saudi Arabia and Egypt. The destructions are necessary to avoid idolatry and to prevent religious corruption. Another reason is said to be to stop the spread of the mystical aspect of Sufism, black magic. Salafis claim to fear that Sufi shrines and tombs will be turned into places of idol worship, therefore undermining fundamental Islamic traditions and values. Salafi extremists rose to power after the Libyan civil war, when the government failed to disarm many of the militias that fought in the war, which left room for the armed groups to fight for power. Armed Salafi militias wrecked several holy shrines using explosives and bulldozers. Destructions continued with smaller attacks on historic locations such as shrines and mosques in other towns. On August 25, 2012, Salafi Muslims came early in the morning and brought 2 bulldozers, explosives, and a jackhammer. They destroyed a large portion of the mosque, the 50 Sufi tombs, the tomb of Libyan Muslim scholar Abdullah al-Sha'ab, and the tomb of a martyr who fought Spanish colonialists. It was rumored that some security personnel allowed the Salafi Muslims to destroy the mosque. The Interior Ministry allegedly gave the green light to the bulldozing, quote, after discovering people had been worshipping the graves and practicing black magic. The criticism did not go down well with the Interior Minister. In protest to the rebuke, he tendered his resignation. Quote, we are distraught at the destruction of this historical and spiritual place in Libya, said Mohammed Salem, caretaker of the mosque. Meanwhile, a Facebook page called Together for the Removal of the Abdel Salam Al-Asmar Shrine praised supporters on the, quote, successful removal of the Asmar Shrine, the largest sign of idolatry in Libya. Cultural clashes between the followers of the mystical Sufi tradition and the ultra-conservative Salafis have taken central stage in the new Libya. Though there is no direct information about what is currently happening to the Sidi al-Sha'ab mosque, we know what is happening to other mosques and what is happening in Libya. In the case of mausoleum of Sidi al-Andalusi, after the destruction of it, the area surrounding the mausoleum became fundraising for the rebuilding of the mausoleum. Because of the lack of information, it is easy to say that while there may have been some efforts to fundraise, the al-Sha'ab mosque was probably never rebuilt. During 2012, the destruction of Sufi sites was at its highest. There were many mosques and shrines destroyed across the country in the span of just a few months. The destruction of mosques went down tremendously in 2013. There was little news of shrine destruction until recently, in 2015, when Libya entered a second civil war and the destruction of mosques was renewed.